So today's a day for something a little different. Very frequently with my social media and with specifically Instagram, I have certain days where I feel like I don't want to say anything at all. I want to curl up, hide away, retract, and say nothing. I found on days like those, I usually need to speak the most. Or what I do end up saying resonates with a lot of people, so that's what this video is. It's one of those. I am in my death year. We've spoken a lot about that, and it's been a journey. It's been insane. I have lost almost every single thing that I thought was solid. I've also had about 3 different identity crises. Cheers to that. Actually, it's probably more like 70 now, but I have had, we'll just call it what it is, constant ego death. I have looked into the eye every single part of me that I've thought to be foundational and have questioned it. And the thing that I really want to talk about today is a huge aspect of that. So I've been fortunate enough that I was able to secure unemployment with COVID. So I've not had to worry about like going hungry or losing the roof over my head. So I'm very grateful for that. In that also, this year has brought me isolation. I don't know if isolation's the right word, but it's brought me an excuse to be a homebody, I guess is what I'll say. But I've been at home almost always. And unlike a lot of people who have been struggling a lot, I've actually found my footing. I could live like this easily. And actually, I'm learning that I would prefer it. Previous to kind of April, so my birthday's in April and switched over to death year in April, so like, geez. I worked with people. I've worked with tons of people. I've worked in customer service. I worked in coffee for over a decade. I've always been a people mover or a people manager of some sort. I was always so drained by it, but similar to a lot of people, I didn't realize how much it drained me until I didn't have it anymore. I realized when my energy is myself, or when I'm able to access my own energy and not give it out to other people, I have so much more creativity and thought and I don't know. My energy is mine. That has been such a liberating experience. It's been such a liberating realization to have. And even now though, I still fight that. I've been on this trip of watching homesteading videos on YouTube. And if anyone has any like non-Christian homesteading people that they watch on YouTube, please let me know in the comments below. I've been watching a ton of videos of people that just like up and left and moved to rural Scandinavia because it called them home. And they see people like once a month and that feels good to them. I've been watching so many of these videos. It's been really reflecting to me what it is I actually want and how far from that life I am. And so I don't say that in like a self-demeaning way. I don't say that in like a fuck you, I should be further along kind of thing. But it's more of like all of these years that I've worked and all of these years that I've hustled, I'll use that term, hustled. That's exactly what I did. I pushed and I more or less bullied my way into businesses, and I bullied businesses into growing, and I've said it several times in previous work that I've written of just I've built other people's castles, and in an attempt to build mine, I started building what I was familiar with, which was very like yang oriented, straightforward, fast talking. Here's a schedule, here's an order, here's everything, oh my gosh, here you go, bam. Here's all this product, it's ready for you. Information, information, information. I've been struggling a lot with the idea of worth in that context and how that actually is suiting me. I've tried to make Lightbringer rituals a thing for, I think we're going on 2.5 years now. And very frequently what it ends up being is like a burst of information, a burst of ideas, a burst of creativity, a burst of like really beautiful things, and then I crash. I just crash. I either have a depressive swing, or my health flares up, or, you know, honestly, name it. And I've been on this rotating platform of it for, about 2.5 years now. And I'm starting to actually realize why I would fall, right? It's because I tried to build my business like the businesses that I had run previously, which ran me into the ground. There is a huge part of me that is this like boss ass motherfucker, and I like that. I like that about myself, that I am a go-getter. I will figure anything out. I've worked in small businesses a lot, so I love the idea of just kind of like, I don't know, but I'll figure it out. Like, that's one of my favorite sayings, right? But in all of these businesses, I was left building a castle for someone else, and then I ended up with nothing at the end. I'm really kind of at this point where I'm wanting to dream the biggest I've ever dreamed. Ever since I was younger, I've always had this idea that like, I want my life to look completely different, like completely different in 5 years. I think when I first met Cole, one of the things that I said is, in 5 years, I want to only speak English at home because I want to live somewhere else where we're fluent in the other language. We only speak English at home. I love, and it wasn't necessarily the language thing, but I love the idea of being able to like get up, transplant, and put yourself in a completely unfamiliar territory, like completely unfamiliar. And that's kind of where I am right now. I am thinking of everything that I've ever wanted, even as a little kid. And I'm thinking of what it is that's actually worth a damn to work for, to work towards. It's not everywhere I've been looking. So I've been finding these like YouTube channels and these stories of people who've done what I've wanted to, just like up and leave and try something different and, you know, lean towards what feels right in their gut. The chess moves that I'm making right now feel incredibly important and sacred and heavy. Heavy not in a sad way, but heavy as in like, okay, honey, let's see what you're made of. Some of the things that I've bumped into over the years is that I'm learning, I've been researching a ton about like Myers-Briggs testing and enneagrams and human design and all of those things to kind of learn. I love structure and I love kind of like theory, right? I love kind of paradigms through which you can look at the minutia, right? And all of those feel like that. Zodiac information too. And I've been looking at so much of that, and I am an INFJ. I think I've said it I think I've said previously that I'm an INFP. I lied. I'm an INFJ. And I'm realizing that like maybe I'm growing in the wrong soil. I like being alone. I like being quiet. I like softness and slowness. I'm all about information, and I'm all about information and creativity coming up from within me. However, I need to have peace in order to do that. I don't live in peace. I literally am looking over a main artery of the city that I live in right now. It's loud all the time. And if it's not the cars that I hear, then we have music on because we're trying to drown out that noise, right? I'm learning that I need to stop apologizing to myself for what I actually need. And so it's been this really big, awakening, challenging moment of asking myself quietly, heart, what do you need? And then actually listening. And right now, where that's taking me is quiet, nature, Really though, why I wanted to chat and talk this out today is because so much of the moves that I'm making right now are being completely determined by this complete reevaluation of self. I know, so for me, one of the big things that I've been having a conversation with myself about has been tarot readings and my business and how I simultaneously grow and thrive in it. Having my life be dictated by an algorithm is not cool. We all know this. There's so many people who are struggling to be seen or to reach people because of what an algorithm says. And that's incredibly frustrating. And it's something that does wear on me. The idea of I have to post every single day, and you've all seen my Instagram posts, they're not like fluff. To expect myself to write that level and that deep of a connective experience and publish it every other day even is really consumer culture. It's really capitalism culture. Will always and have always been a person who would rather say one sentence quietly than 16 sentences loudly, right? So I'm finding this dissonance kind of as I continue to push a little bit more like out of my comfort zone, right? Another thing is tarot readings. I love doing tarot readings. I love doing one-on-ones. I only do hours because I don't like to do shallow work. I really like to get in and have conversations with people and really work through issues, and I like to like get my hands dirty, so to speak. Not that humans are dirty, that's a weird way to say that. I like to go in there. I like to have really deep and connected conversations. However, one-on-one work is really draining to me. I have a really hard time with it. I've never actually wanted to be a tarot reader. I love tarot. I love teaching tarot so much, but sitting down and providing information to someone is something that actually drains me a lot. And that's been something that's really hard to hold on my end because that's how I can make money. Fast and easy, right? It's also very lovely because I love to meet everybody. I love to hear about people's lives, and I love to kind of help people have like an aha moment in the middle of like muck and gross, you know? However, when I sit back and think about how I feel and how I wish to grow what it is that I am, it's not something that is sustainable or even nourishes me. And that's a really hard thing to process. And so this connects back to like, I've read in so many places about like INFJs or in human design, I'm a projector. And so I've been reading about all of these, and I know they're guidelines instead of rules, but like one of the main things is face-to-face and like in the group contact with people is something that drains you. Very true. I actually, if I was in a class or taught a class and I was like sitting in a room with like 20 other people, I always end it with a migraine. I always end it just like unable to see because my head hurts so bad. It doesn't matter how much water I drink or how much I ground myself or crystals that I have in my pocket. Like I've found that nothing really helps. Even like hollow bone practices just doesn't touch it. It's overwhelming because I hold the energy of everyone. And that's a benefit of mine. However, it also kind of wrecks the portal. I actually saved, hold on, I actually want to read this out loud because I think it's really beautiful. I saved an image that just spoke to me so much, and it's been the thing that's on my mind recently. It was a comic by Dana Droodles. That's very cute, Dana Droodles. And it says, "A heart that always understands is also very tired." Great. Heart that always understands is also very tired. That's something that I've been thinking a ton about, is that these are badges that I can wear with pride and not as an excuse. I think there's so much in my body and in my way that I've been taught that turns things like being a highly sensitive person or being an introvert or being, I don't know, someone who just likes quiet and likes being alone. There's a tendency to turn those into excuses, or make them feel like, oh, well, it's just because you don't want to deal with people. And there's a huge part of me right now that's fighting against all of that conditioning to think that there are excuses for just like not doing things. And instead, I'm trying really hard to embrace those things as whispers that need to be listened to. As I'm sitting here, as I'm planning this move that's coming, and I'm dreaming about like what could come, there is a big frustration because it's not here yet. The decisions I'm making now will affect how soon that dream of me being a hermit in the woods can be here. And right now I'm making a ton of compromises in order to reach that goal eventually. Moving in with family is not an easy thing. And on top of that, we're moving into a very small space, smaller actually than our already tiny apartment. And all of the moves that I'm making with this business, or all the thoughts that I'm having, or all the content that I'm wanting to create, all of it is feeding towards this one thing, which is this idea of freedom. Yes, freedom from debt, like any millennial can basically pray for that, but freedom to be who I am and to not apologize for it. Freedom to feel like I don't have to churn out social media content just to be seen. Freedom to not have to churn out witchcraft content that nobody needs. Just because I need to publish something, you know, like because an algorithm, right? It's always been my goal to be a mirror for others simply by way of being unapologetically myself. And this year I've really figured out what that means. Because before, that mirror and that unapologetically myself was very Sledgehammer-like. And I'm learning that I really would rather it be quiet and peaceful and contented and simple and kind and light. I'm at this point where I've had the privilege of slowing down, and all I've been able to do is show up for myself on a daily basis. And some days aren't great, some days are okay, some days are shit. I've had the privilege of slowing down enough to actually recalibrate to what I want and do so in a way that I'm no longer apologizing for it. And I think the apology that I speak of in that circumstance is to myself. I am no longer apologizing for the boundaries that I need to put up in order to make sure that my mental health is okay. And yes, those are significant boundaries if I were to compare them to the rest of the world. What I need to be listening to is the fact that every decision I'm making is to get closer to home. And home is not necessarily where I am now. And that's a beautiful thing to realize. It's sad. I'm holding a lot of grief. But what I can do with grief is work towards what makes my heart sing instead. Because I don't remember who said it, but there's a quote that's like, grief is love with nowhere to go. So I have grief over the fact that where I've been living and what I've been doing and the actions that I've been taking and the lessons I've been learning, they weren't wrong. I think they've just been constantly steering me towards a direction I'm not looking at. And so with that grief comes a realization that I have so much love to give to myself in the form of actually choosing the things that free me instead of inhibit me. And so that's where I am. That's where I am physically, mentally, spiritually. My death year ends in April. and I think I still have a ton of work to do. And April isn't gonna bring my like homestead house, right? But April will bring a garden. April will bring rain. April will bring a home near the mountains that I grew up near. It'll bring camping with family. It'll bring a breathe out so that I can start to actually make choices towards the life I want to live. And yes, that may look weird to some, but I bet so many of you feel the same way. So many of you probably also have that millennial dream of living on a homestead and raising chickens and goats and sheeps. I mean, look, I think so many of us wish to caretake something. And I am starting with myself first, so that when I introduce animals and land and a house and all these other beautiful things, I will feel ready and I will be able to be grateful for it, because I know it's a lot of hard work. But I hope all of you are doing well, and stay tuned. Next week I'll have a video up on shadow work, ego, and how to work with death. I know, that's so casual. I hope you have a lovely day, and I hope you felt seen by any part of this rambling. Stay tuned, and man, I cannot wait until springtime so I can take you out in the garden and show you all the hard work I'm gonna be doing. Till next video, bye.